Welcome back, Sogcast fans. Another week of spring training is in the books. Come join us as we talk about the core of our 2024 Seattle Mariners and what we expect for them to do to make the playoffs this year. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sogcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Matt.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Nate.
Last week, we did full breakdown, all of the new players and stuff, who's new, who's playing what position, kind of did a nice little breakdown on all of that. And doing that, we didn't talk about our core guys. So let's bring up the core. Let's do some crunches in here.
Do some planks.
Could all use a little core work. Yeah, last week was a real who's who of who's coming, who's gone, and yeah, this week we get to talk about some of the more known players. I think we'll kind of dive into, maybe scheme up some projections, expectations, kind of what we need from that core to really be a solid above 90 win baseball team this year.
Above 90 wins. Let's go.
Yeah, we had a couple guys working out at Driveline, JP Crawford and Ty France, who we can talk about. We have guys like Cal Raleigh, who seems to just keep getting better and maybe moving up towards like a captain type role on this team, possibly. Mitch Garver came in, and he's just going to rake. He doesn't have to worry about playing behind the plate. I mean, we have all these guys that are really round out our roster nicely with Jorge Polanco. We have a lot of moving pieces, guys that can play many positions, but I think there's much more straightforward paths to where these players are going to be. Like there's not as many moving pieces in my opinion here.
Yeah, it's weird. There are movable pieces, but there aren't as many moving pieces, right?
Yeah,
It's going to be a lot less platooning this year, hopefully.
That's the goal, I think.
Yeah.
Jerry DePoto came out this week and basically confirmed Ty France is our new third baseman.
I heard that interview. That was funny. It's apparently news to Ty France.
And all of us. It's also not what he said at all.
Yeah,
the
no.
internet is like, oh, Ty France is skinny. He's going to play third base.
He
Never
still
gonna
doesn't
happen.
have the range, although he's got a little bit more speed now that he's dropped some of that wagon he was carrying.
I mean, if he can get a little bit more athletic and play a wider first base, that'd be sweet too. He doesn't need to move over to the other corner and have to throw across the diamond and all that. He hasn't been doing that for the last 2 years. That's not his role. We have a guy like Dylan Moore on our bench. There's no way we're putting Ty France at third base before we put Dylan Moore at third base. I mean, it's hilarious. The internet is great like that, though. I mean, it's fun when everybody gets all hyped about the idea of something that's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
I do like the idea behind why they were kind of working him at third base. If you heard more of what Jerry said and like what Perry Hill and Ty said later after what Garrett was referencing, they were doing it to kind of work on his footwork more, which can translate to first base really well. Ty said himself that he feels like he's kind of lost a step or two of footwork, just working on first base so much. So kind of mix up some kind of drills that can cross those footwork skills of third base over to first base, clean up that footwork a bit.
I will say, though, the biggest thing with Ty France is not his defense. He has been a damn good first baseman. The problem was that he forgot how to hit. Last year was an incredibly down year for him. Bad pitch selection, no power, swinging late, swinging off balance. And another one of those spins. Remember when he went to the chiropractor and they fixed his neck and he was going to be... Oh, he's going to be the Ty France of old. And
he can see the pitch now.
He
so
was
now he'll
just
be fine.
as bad. However, he has been pushing the drive line in Kent, the big complex. We saw the benefits it had with JP all of last year. Turned JP into one of the better hitting shortstops in all of baseball. There's been a lot of great results with JP. Ty France has now joined him. We're hoping to see more of the same from Ty France this year, and I believe Driveline can do it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players go there to improve their bat speed, and that's what Ty France didn't have a lot of down the stretch. Like, he had some hot streaks, and I think he started the season off pretty well. I remember being high on Ty France early, but down the stretch, man, he just looked so sluggish. He was swinging at every high fastball. He couldn't touch them, Like, they knew exactly what to do to exploit his weaknesses. He came in looking fit. He came in looking, his hands look better when he's hitting. He was already a good hitter. It's like he was a hit artist Ty France. We'd called him that. And then at some point last year, he just fell off so hard that it was hard to get behind him. So I'm glad he is working hard to make those improvements because he was already a natural hitter. And I think Driveline, the way that we saw the improvements in JP Crawford's swing, Ty France is going to look awesome this year, and I have no doubts about that.
He apparently unlocked an extra 3 miles an hour of bat speed, is what he was saying, that's huge, honestly. And it means now he doesn't have to cheat in on the plate as much. May result in him finally getting hit by pitches less, which would be cool. Protect those forearms and wrists and elbows and whatnot.
If he's able to catch up to the high fastball, that's a great trade-off.
Yeah, he doesn't have to cheat in as much now and worry about being late and missing the outside pitch and get eaten up on the inside of his hands anymore. So, could be big.
Also, I really like, just from a personal standpoint, the work ethic that JP has put in and now Ty France. Like, these guys care about the team and they want to get better. The Mariners have been cursed with getting first basemen that just stop giving a shit. Richie Sexton, Casey Kochman, Russell Branyan, just time after time. Justin Smoke. Like, all of these guys that come and play first base and end up not doing a damn thing for us. So it's really nice to see Ty France you can already see the benefits. He's lost a lot of weight. He looks healthier. His swing is faster. He's putting in the time, the effort. He cares, and that's great to see. And I'm hoping for a real big season from him.
Yeah, it's obvious that he's focused, along with JP, and this is culture building. They're going to be here together for the next few years. JP signed up through, 2028? And if we want to get anything for him, we trade him before that. But at the same time, for the next few years, this is what I'm talking about. They're going to be here together, and this is culture building activity here. They're training at the same place. They're helping each other get better, and hopefully that translates to the rest of the team, especially some new guys like Luke Raleigh, up-and-coming guys like Cade Marlowe and Taylor Trammell. Hopefully the things they learn at Driveline, they can help show a younger player or players who are struggling in some way and just show them a little trick that they can catch up to that fastball all of a sudden.
JP had a monster year last year. Ty France hoping to see more of the same with the whole Driveline experience and all it can do to improve the players. Another big step up I think we need to see is Julio Rodriguez in those clutch situations. Now, don't get me wrong. Julio Rodriguez is one of the top players in all of baseball.
I think ESPN just put out their top 100 list and Julio was 10.
Yeah, he was 10. And it's deserved. He finished 4th in MVP voting last year. And the only issue in his game is trying to do too much in those clutch moments. We were at wit's end last year when the game is on the line time and time again, night in and night out. Julio would come up. This is his chance to make the big play to become the star. And he was swinging out of his shoes. He was doing too much, and he wants to be that guy. But you don't need to crush a bomb. Sometimes just a liner up the middle is all you need. And if he can improve on that, and he's already given statements about it. He's like, it's frustrating. It's however frustrated you guys are, I'm even more frustrated.
You don't need to tell me.
Yeah,
I see it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He knows that he failed the team in those clutch situations. He's signed up for the first half or more of his entire career, possibly, with the Mariners, and he knows that he's going to be that guy. I think watching him going through those growing pains and understanding it and being like self-actualized. You know what I mean? Like he knows what happened. He's disappointed even though he finished high in the MVP because he had the hottest August you could ever have. He had a historic August.
Yeah, he did.
It's insane. So just knowing that he knows and that he's going to get better and eventually that it'll even out and he'll be like a more consistent star player is awesome. Like being volatile that way and still finishing that high in the MVP is awesome. And we just need to make sure that he's healthy and on the field, and he's going to do everything he can to put the Mariners over the top. I think he can carry this team like we've seen him do. And the more consistent he gets, the more of a rock and like we can ride him. It's going to be awesome. This guy is an absolute superstar.
Yeah, and I think last year we focused on the clutch factor that he did lack in those moments. I think because that was kind of the only negative we could really, that was really the only thing that stood out to us. Like he had a slow start again, but before you know it, you look up at the end of the year and he put together a better year than his rookie year that was already, rookie of the year for him. Mm-hmm. And he just came out and no sophomore slump, really had statistically an improved year. But yeah, just gotta, get over the youth factor, learn a little bit more because he is so young. He's gonna struggle in those big clutch moments. He's just gotta learn, and he's self-aware enough to realize that and be like, I'm young, I'm learning, was trying too hard in big situations.
Speaking of the beginning of his season last year, he was also getting squeezed into oblivion for 3 months. Starting the season frustrated, it can't help anything,
Yeah, and also, if I'm not mistaken, he did the World Baseball Classic too, right?
Yeah.
That is a lot of non-prep time for your star player. Also just going into his second year. So it was his first time with a full major league season. And then he tacked on the World Baseball Classic on top of that. And it's just, he hasn't had enough like rest time and development time in the offseason going in from the rookie to sophomore season. Now, coming in for his third year, no World Baseball Classic this year. He's already limited early on in spring training. They're giving him time. Just he's dealing with like a little bit of inflammation. Nothing to be concerned about, but just, no reason to get him tuckered out and also getting him ramped up to full baseball activity.
I'm kind of concerned about the hand inflammation. That's what's been keeping him out a little bit. I mean, it's spring training, and it's Julio Rodriguez. We know what to expect from him, and we have him signed up for life as far as we know so far. And he was injured with the hand last year because he got hit in the hand by a pitch, right? And he was out for a while, and I'm worried that he has a nagging hand injury that's going to be annoying for like offensively, swinging the bat like that every day. And I hope that it's not something that keeps him out during the season and they're just taking it easy now and making sure that he can manage that throughout the season, because I think it's a direct result of that last year being hit in the hand. So I'm a little bit concerned, but at the same time, they're super aware and he's going to be able to play. It's not like his hand's broken, but they'll make sure he gets his day off when he needs it.
And going back to Nate's earlier point about us like harping on the clutch moments, because that was like the only really thing to be upset about. That's 100% true. He was phenomenal in the outfield.
Good, dude.
He was great at
zone.
Great at stealing bases, and yeah, his average and stuff were still really good. The problem was he would go 3 for 4 in a game, and the 3 hits would come in the first, the fourth, the sixth, and then he'd come up in the ninth, and that's the big moment, and he would swing out of his shoes, and you would think that he had not had 3 hits already that game. He looked so out of place in those clutch moments, and we talked about it so much last year about, where's the coaching staff on this? Like, where's the person telling him, hey, calm down, take a deep breath? But again, he's young with maturity and growth, and just learn by doing. The more he finds himself in those situations, the more he's going to be able to take complete control over it, and he'll be, coming out on top more often than not.
Yeah, exactly. Julio Rodriguez this year is going to prove it to everybody that he's one of the best. He's going to take life by the horns and be one of the best players in the league. And I'm going to go put money on Julio Rodriguez for MVP. That guy is 100% capable, 200% capable of winning the MVP, and everyone knows it. He's going to be the guy, and he's going to show it this year, man. I hope that he really proves it to everybody.
And we did make a few coaching changes that hopefully, to Patrick's point, will kind of help out in that where's the coaching staff aspect of it for a struggling player in clutch situations. I mean, we added a new position called an offensive coordinator, and I've never heard of that in baseball. It sounds cool. So maybe that's kind of his job, is kind of the situational awareness of those, clutch situational at-bats. Maybe that's something that can be helped out.
I hope
Who
so.
knows?
He's over there calling plays. Hit it.
Dude,
To me, like a hitting coach for the Seattle Mariners is a lot like being a weatherman for Seattle. You just show up every day and just get everything wrong, and people are just like, yeah, that's just what happens. I mean, the Mariners have to rotate like their hitting coach like every single year. It's always just some new guy, and they're like, why do we strike out so much? Let's get another guy. Shows up, gets it wrong, says it's going to rain, it's sunshiny, some mistakes all over the place. But I'm sure this hitting coach and our new offensive coordinator are going to be the ones to take us to the promised land.
I think that's the key, dude. We solved the puzzle with that offensive coordinator.
As long as the message gets from them to the players in the way that is beneficial, I'm happy. An offensive coordinator in baseball, why not? Let's do it. You know what's crazy, though? I was just thinking. We talked about JP and Ty a little bit, mostly Ty, but I want to talk about JP Crawford because remember last year, JP Crawford went like 1 for 28 in spring training. Like, he had one hit in spring training. He went out and got MVP votes last year. Just saying, do we expect JP to do the same thing this year? His swing was improved. He had improved power. He could hit lefties better. He could catch up to the high fastball better. He's always patient. When he's in the game, he's locked in, man. Like, spring training is spring training. And we're talking about practice, right? We're talking about practice. But JP Crawford, when he's in a game situation, is locked in. He's the most consistent guy. When the bases are loaded, I want JP Crawford at the plate, to be honest.
No, that's a very, very good point. And also, the reason why Julio was in so many clutch situations last year is because JP was coming up with 2 outs and getting on base.
Every damn time.
Dude,
Walking.
every time. JP, like...
And
that is the
fouling off
most
4 pitches. Like, he's working it.
yeah.
Just to walk.
14 pitch at bats.
Just to get Julio up there. Yeah.
Hitting it to both fields.
JP has improved the most in one season that I have ever personally seen. The fact that he went from, a shortstop that was a pretty weak hitter and was just like decent on defense. And that was pretty much what he had. He had the leadership abilities and stuff, but he wasn't a phenomenal player. And last year, I would say he was phenomenal. He was amazing last year. He came up in so many tough situations and worked counts, balls in play, taking walks. Defensively, about the same. Maybe he's lost a step defensively. Doesn't really matter. He's still covering. He's still got great range, great arm.
The nice thing, too, is his improvements seem very repeatable. Like, it doesn't seem like a fluke, career best year type situation. It feels like he could replicate similar numbers again. It's not like he came out of nowhere and had a 40 home run season and you're like, yeah, that'll never happen again. Like, he just pieced together a solid season. Nothing that he can't do again. Get your base hits, get your walks in, and that's something he can definitely do again this year. He did have a bit of a power bump last year, which was nice, but yeah, it's a sustainable number. It wasn't anything crazy. He might not have 6 or 7 leadoff home runs again this year like he did last year. That's probably
awesome.
kind of a fluke, but I think it's definitely repeatable to have that kind of a season again.
Where do you guys see him in the batting order? He was starting off at first. We moved him to 9, just how things shifted around throughout the season. Where's JP this year?
I think he's at the top of the order.
Has to be, right?
You got to have him
He's
leading
locked
off.
in there.
You got to have him leading off.
We had him last year at the early part of the season. We had him at the bottom of the order. We had like Colton Wong leading off. We had Julio leading off. But once we put JP in the number 1 hole there, everything kind of clicked, And I think we're going to put him right back at the top there. That's where he's the best, and
Good.
that's where he belongs.
for sure.
So, I mean, the last 3 seasons, he's played full seasons. In 2020, I guess he played a full season as well, but it was the shortened season. But at the same time, he's put up, let's see, his OPS plus has gone up from 2020 on, 91, 102, 100, and then last year, 131.
Let's go.
Big jump. His OBP last year was 380, his on-base percentage, 380, and his slug 438, which isn't awesome, but like the way he plays defense and the way he gets on base, his OPS was over 800, like 818 OPS, which is really, really good, especially for a shortstop. He led the league in walks, struck out 125 times, walked 94 times. That's awesome. And hit 19 home runs. His highest before that was 9 in 2021. Like, he hit 10 more home runs than he did last year. He made a giant stride, and I expect him to play exactly the way he did last year this year. I don't, even if he does a little bit less than that, maybe he doesn't hit as many home runs, but, he's the guy that's going to be the most consistent player on the Mariners.
Yeah, and I was going to say, realistically, you could probably see the power numbers drop a little bit, but also he's not a power hitter. The fact that he hit that many last year was wild, and especially so many games leading off with a home run. That was crazy. I can see that number coming back down to earth. But yeah, also like Nate said, everything else is pretty sustainable.
And I'd be fine with 15 home runs. I think that's very doable again for him this year,
100%.
What if we see a full repeat? He went back to Driveline, got even better.
Just even better.
It's possible.
Dropped a 30 bomb season.
Yeah,
That'd be insane. Hits more home runs than Ty France. It's like, see, Ty, do it.
Wakes up every day to a new PED test request at his locker room. Just popping off 40 homers.
With Mitch Haniger coming back and JP, and they're like captain type people in the clubhouse, I would assume. Like JP, we know he leads by example for sure. And the more I read and hear about JP behind the scenes, he's just the man. Like JP's the guy. And I think he's one of the heart of this team. There's no more Eugenio Suarez, but I'm glad Mitch Haniger's back to kind of fulfill that captain role he had right before he left too. I think Cal Raleigh's really coming up to be that leader type person too. Cal Raleigh is a guy that if he repeats what he did last year, I mean, he's one of the most valuable catchers in the league. Easy. He already is. And just switch hitter, he hit a home run from each side of the plate at Fenway, which was dope.
Suck it, Veritek.
Yeah. Dude, so cool. Like, that guy is a beast too. He wants to play every day. He's going to drive this team in the right direction for the next few years as well. This core is really rounding out with all these guys we're talking about.
We're solid up the middle for sure at the 3 most premium fielding positions you can have. We're locked in with solid dudes up the middle at catcher, shortstop, and center field, and that's kind of what you want to have locked down. If you're good up the middle, you can usually piece together a lot of things around that.
You guys see Cal play in as many games as he did last year?
I could see them sitting him a little bit more because of the beating he's taken the last 2 years.
Yes.
He's the most resilient dude I've ever seen.
I would
in my
like
life.
to see him play less.
He got
for
pummeled
his own
last year.
sake.
We don't need another separated thumb trying to beast it out in the end of September.
Yeah, hopefully Sebi Zavala.
Yeah,
I don't even know. Yeah,
Sebi Zavala.
Sebi. Hopefully he is a serviceable enough backup catcher, can maybe play every 3-4 days, give Cal a bit more of a break so he's not so burnt out down the stretch and isn't ended up dealing with nagging injuries all season.
Yeah, and it's funny, Cal is one of our better players on our team in all of baseball too, especially at the catcher position. But we do want him to play less just because the amount of innings he's put in, the amount of foul tips and damage and stuff. He had to have surgery on his hand, and just it's okay to give him a little bit more of a rest. And also, Mitch Garver is an emergency catcher, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Garver gets a catching start here or there. It would probably be pretty rare and only in like a dire situation, but he does have that experience.
I was hoping that Mitch Garver was willing, or that his role would be backup catcher so we could use that extra roster spot and not have to carry a backup catcher. But it seems it's going to make the team too thin. You have to carry a backup catcher, and Mitch Garver at this point is only a hitter. We could even put him at first base if we need to. He's not going to be catching, and like you said, Patrick, unless it's a dire situation. Cal Raleigh, his games played, 47 in 2021, just starting out. 2022, 119. 2023, 145 games.
That's too many games for a catcher.
And with that 18-inning game, he played 163 games last year.
Let's get in between there. Let's get him at 125, 130 games, and I'm happy.
Yeah, he needs his rest.
Dude, did you guys see the clips of Harry Ford throwing guys out from his knees?
Yeah.
He's legit, dude.
Dude, he threw a guy out at second from his knees, and it was sweet, too. And then he slid and threw from his knees behind a right-handed hitter at third base, too. And Rojas had a sweet catch and tag there at third base.
I think those were in the same game, too. Or
Yeah,
I know,
it was.
Yep. I know he did have 2 caught stealings in one game. That was pretty cool. And it was those 2, I guess.
He was looking slick in those highlights.
Yeah, and I mean, Ford is still a little ways away before making the major league roster. He's still young, needs plenty more time to develop. But there could be a time when realistically our 2 catchers are Harry Ford and Cal Raleigh. That's insane.
I think at that point, Cal Raleigh, we're going to have to make a decision about an extension or coming up with Ford and trading Raleigh. You know what I mean? That's down the road. I mean, right now we're locked in with Raleigh, and he's my boy. I love having him behind the plate. I love having him at the plate hitting. Dude, he bopped a homer in spring training too, and it's great to see him do that. He's a monster hitting a low pitch. He can backspin a low pitch like nobody's business from the left side. It's insane.
It was like the home run he hit to send us to the playoffs was low, and he golfed the hell out of it and
That's
pumped
special.
it deep into right field.
Our catcher problem is a good problem to have, and thankfully one that we don't have to worry about for a couple of years. Like Harry Ford just played his first full season of single A. Like he's going to probably have another one of those, and then a full season or 2 in double A, and then then maybe it's time to figure out what to do about that. But
yeah, in the meantime, we have Sebi Zavala that seems like he's going to be on our 26-man roster, and then behind him we have Blake Hunt, who will probably start in double A or triple A, depending on where they want him, but that seems like our third catcher if we need him. A guy we got from the Tampa Bay Rays that, I don't know, he's just a guy. I don't know. We'll see. We have a couple guys in front of him, so we don't have to worry about that for a while, but we'll see how he works his way in if he needs to.
Along with some of our core guys are still dudes that will be on the roster the entire time, but not necessarily in the lineup. We have returning guys like Dylan Moore and Sam Haggerty. Dylan Moore will be on the Major League roster. The Mariners extended him, which seems kind of weird that was one of the guys that they chose to extend when they did, but he's been serviceable, and the Mariners have always kind of gravitated to the one full utility guy, and that's Dylan Moore to a T. He's going to be on the Major League roster. I could see Sam Haggerty not making the roster. I'm a Haggerty fan, but he's not an everyday guy, and even from the bench, he's wishy-washy. So I could see Haggerty not cracking the opening day roster.
Yeah, Haggerty's a fun dude, but I mean, honestly, what you want out of a utility guy is more of a versatility aspect, and Dylan Moore does have a little bit more versatility than Haggerty as far as you could literally put him anywhere. He can play first base just fine. He can play third base. He can play shortstop. He can play second. He could probably figure out how to catch if we needed him to.
Yeah, I just think it's like redundant to have Haggerty and Moore. Like I've been thinking that for a while. Even though, like, is Haggerty a switch hitter? There's something about him that he steals bases. I don't know. They both do the same things.
They're
They
the
both-
same guy.
Yeah. So why carry both of those when we have so much talent? You know what I mean? We have Cade Marlowe. We have is Urias and Rojas both going to be on the roster?
I think so. 'Cause
I know
there's-
Rojas will be.
Both of them are going
I-
to probably play third in some capacity.
And then there's
some kind of
Polanco
split.
as well.
Yeah, Polanco.
I think he's pretty much penciled in as second baseman every day.
Okay.
I like Polanco penciled in as second base, man. It's nice. And also, yeah, using Dylan Moore or Josh Rojas there is really easy. It's a direct path to doing that. There's no moving someone from left field to second base and putting in a new left fielder like we were doing last year. There's way more direct replacement type things going on here. And I like Polanco at second base every day. That's great. If he stays healthy, that's great. Third base, I hope Josh Rojas holds it down. We don't really need Sam Haggerty. You know what I mean? We got to give someone a shot. What do we got? Cade Marlowe. Who else do we have? If we're going to carry Rojas and Urias.
Tramel's hanging around.
I mean, I think
Trammell.
that battle for that final 26 spot is going to be between those three guys with Haggerty, Marlowe, and Trammell.
I
See
don't-
how Samad Taylor does in spring training?
Yeah, Samad Taylor's
Might be in
there,
the
too.
conversation as well.
I feel like he's still kind of the same kind of guy, though, as a Sam Haggerty, so it's still redundant. I'd rather have a better left-handed Cade Marlowe bat on the bench than that.
Savannah Bananas legend kissing Cade Marlowe.
Kissing Cade. But what do you... I mean, I'm kind of low on Trammell. What do you guys think? He's kind of been hanging around for a couple years. He hit a nice grand slam. He gets hot every once in a while, but he's never really stuck around. I've seen him take terrible routes in left field. I don't know. I'm kind of low on him, but I see that other people may think he might have his chance this year.
Yeah, he's shown flashes, and unfortunately, his hot streaks have been just hot streaks. They haven't really equated to average everyday production. He's got little flashes here and there. He's got all the athleticism in the world, but yeah, like you said, sometimes that doesn't always translate to good outfield play with route running. Like a lot of times, route running is a little more important than just good athleticism and being fast.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm a little low on Taylor Trammell as well. I want to root for the guy. I want to see him do well, but for the exact reasons you brought up, I just don't really see him as an everyday guy. Probably not going to cut it on the 26 man.
No, I don't think so. Cade Marlowe. I'd rather have Cade
I'd
Marlowe
love
every
to see
day.
more kissing Cade.
He showed promise last year. I'm glad he hit that huge grand slam against the Angels. Like, he kind of made a name for himself a little bit. He has a nice swing. I thought Cade Marlowe had a nice swing last spring. I think this year he should be on this team. Like, now that Kelenic is gone, he's the nice young left-handed swing that we have. And I think he kind of showed out when Kelenic was struggling and he came up and was doing good things for the first part of when he came up until pitchers kind of figured out his weaknesses, of course. But I think he has a lot of potential. Cade Marlowe looks really good to me, and he's kind of our Jared Kelenic replacement in a way, like who is our fourth guy. And we have Mitch Haniger. We
There's
have
also
Luke Raley.
Dom Canzone is our lefty
Oh my.
outfielder too.
Dom
Like,
Canzone.
we're full in the outfield again, which is not a
Dom
bad
on
problem
the
to have.
roster? Is he going to make the roster? I think so.
I think so too, but
But then we got
It's
all
getting
these
kinda
left-handed
tight. Yeah.
bats. Yeah,
Wow.
Cade
we're running out
Marlowe,
of spots.
Dom Canzone, Sam Haggerty. I think Sam Haggerty's the odd guy out here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Start
I don't
him
think.
in AAA.
Yeah, I think Haggerty will probably be in AAA. Trammell will probably be in AAA. And yeah,
Good.
some of the people we've picked up, like our roster is filling up pretty quick. You know where our roster is 100% set? Our pitching staff. Every one of our core starters, 1 through 5, were phenomenal. Brian Wu is our 5th starter and our weakest link per se, but like he's still really good. He could be a 3 or 4 starter on another team.
I think he throws like 5 pitches too. That dude's versatile. As long as he stays healthy, he's just going to keep getting better.
I'm so excited for a full season of this starting 5. Like, they're going to be putting up some low runs allowed.
It's going to be so much fun. 1 through 5, we have Luis Castillo,
Yes.
Logan Gilbert,
Yes.
George Kirby,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Bryce Miller,
Yeah.
and Brian Wu.
Woo!
3 of those 5 guys are going to get Cy Young votes easily. One of them might very well win Cy Young, and it could be Kirby.
They're going to steal votes from each other, so none of them win it. No, that's a good problem to have, though. I'd rather have 3 guys in the Cy Young voting and none of them winning because it's obvious that they did it together. It's rare to have a 3-headed monster like that, and I hope that they live up to their potential. They stay healthy. They're all dealing. Every time I see those guys pitch, I'm like, oh my God, like good luck, man. Logan Gilbert looks like a straight murderer on the mound when he's out there. Like, he looks like a right-handed Randy Johnson. You know what I mean? That dude can really get on you. And George Kirby will move the ball around. He'll spin it, and like he always throws strikes. Luis Castillo, he's my boy. He's a legit ace. I'm so glad he's a Cincinnati Reddener.
He needs to cool it on the home runs this year, though. That was his knock last year.
That was a problem.
Giving up way too many home runs. It seemed like last year he was trying to get his walk numbers down, and in doing so was attacking the zone a little bit more, maybe in counts that he probably shouldn't have. He didn't want to try and get someone chasing and work the count then 2-2 or 3-2. He was trying to put him away on that 1-2 pitch, and he was giving up a lot of home runs last year. It was weird to see him giving up so much home runs because he is an ace. He's a top pitcher. It seemed like him trying to tweak his walk numbers inevitably led to him giving up more home runs.
That's kind of what aces do, though, right? They're notoriously pound the strike zone.
I think he's one of those guys that kind of hucks it as hard as he can, gets the most movement he can, regardless of where it is. He's pretty good at putting it in like a quarter zone, you know what I mean? But he's not good at like, unless he's trying to take some off and pinpoint, he's kind of just giving it all he's got with the 2-seamer that runs so hard, with the changeup that falls out so hard. He's putting it in a zone rather than a pinpoint place usually. And when he misses his spot, sometimes it's over the plate and can get hit really hard, which is I think what we're seeing from him. But if he works on that pinpoint control rather than going for the hardest movement you can possibly do because he's that good, then we could see improvement in certain counts, especially like Patrick's saying, situationally.
Saw a video today. George Kirby was talking with Pitching Ninja, doing kind of like an interview thing, and he kind of threw out the fun idea that he might throw that knuckleball that he threw once last year.
Yes.
He said he might throw that a couple of times. They asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe once every few starts you might see it a couple times in a game. That would be fun.
Bring back the knuckleball.
Didn't Kirby throw it on
Tim Wakefield?
Was it his birthday?
No, it was when he passed.
He passed away, so it was like an in memoriam thing, and threw a knuckleball for a strike. It was awesome.
Perfect situation to try it out. Yeah, it was in honor of the GOAT, Tim Wakefield, and it was that final game of the season. We were out of the playoffs already, not too much on the line. So yeah, he's like, maybe once every few starts, if we got a decent lead or the situation's right,
Sweet.
That'd be fun.
That.
I say, fuck it, throw it every at bat. I love the knuckleball.
Bring
and no
the
one throws it
knuckleball.
anymore.
Yeah, throw it 5% of the time. You know what I mean? Let's go. Throw a
Worst case,
knuckleball.
it just puts it in the back of the pitcher or the hitter's mind that, oh, well, he could maybe throw it here. And then even if he doesn't, you're kind of thinking maybe what weird knuckleball.
That's
here
some
at some
wiffle ball
point.
shit.
Yeah, just to even have that and even throw it a few times, you do have to keep that in the back of your mind. Like, what if this is the knuckleball? And then no,
he's
it's
not
just
gonna throw the.
it's
Oh,
just straight fastball by your hands, and you're screwed.
Dude, I love it. I hope we see more knuckleballs than not. Like, let's go. It's got to be effective. He has a nasty one, right? You don't throw it unless it's good.
He talks about how he threw it a lot in, I think, high school or when he was real young, and then
I threw in Little League a
he
little.
probably got told like, "Don't do that ever."
Yeah,
again.
yeah, that's what happens. You mix it in, and then
yeah.
they're like, "Don't do
Bring
that."
it back.
Well, the problem with the knuckleball is when it is effective, it is the most dominant pitch in baseball. Like, because the hitters are so used to seeing the spin, so you just throw something out there that literally doesn't spin. It throws everyone off. It's the hardest ball to hit. However, it is so finicky, and if you don't get it perfect, it's getting launched 450. Like Tim Wakefield, who's one of the best knuckleballers of all time, and despite being like a Hall of Fame pitcher and stuff, would get hit for mammoth home runs, and he threw the knuckleball all the time. And if it wasn't perfect, it gets absolutely crushed. But it doesn't hurt to have that in the repertoire and bust one out every now and again. Like, I'm for it. I wish there was more knuckleball pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, those guys that catch knuckleballs, they wear like a huge pancake mitt, a specialized mitt, because that ball's moving everywhere. And Bob Uecker, like the announcer for the Brewers, he played baseball, and he caught, who were the dudes? They were brothers that threw knuckleballs, played for like the Twins and
Negro?
the Negro brothers.
Oh, yeah,
Phil
and-
Necro.
and his brother.
The Negro brothers. The Necro brothers, they threw nasty knuckleballs. He must have caught one of the Necro brothers. But Bob Uecker had a quote that was like, "The best way to catch a knuckleball is to wait till it stops rolling and pick it up." Like, yeah, good luck. That pitch is nasty when you're throwing a knuckleball and it's on. Good luck. Tim Wakefield was our example growing up, and I loved watching Wake.
Well, and the Mariners actually had a pure knuckleball pitcher for a little bit when we had R.A. Dickey. But then the knuckleball stopped working and he was out of baseball pretty soon after. But that's also another thing that, like, George Kirby doesn't need to rely on a knuckleball to be good. He has every single one of his pitches is electric.
Yeah, if
mix
it's not
it
working
in.
that day, he just throws one of his other 5 pitches instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should mix that in. I love it.
I love fun, just fun stuff like that. Like, just more fun in baseball.
big fan
we
of
like
fun.
we're big fans of fun here.
Which is weird because we're Mariners fans.
Yeah.
You think we'd be anti-fun.
Oh no, we're the best at finding fun.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys.
Like-
this is out of nowhere. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I want to know, as the 3 biggest baseball fans I know, why do people boo when the pitcher tries to pick off a guy at first base?
Oh, like
Isn't that a good thing to, like, you know?
Because it's fun to do.
Yeah,
Like-
honestly, it is.
That's the
it's
only
just
thing?
it's a fun thing. Like, there's some people that really don't like it, and they're like, of course he's gonna pick off. Why would you boo? It's literally just because it's funny. Like, no one's actually bashing a pitcher for throwing a pickoff. Like, it doesn't actually anger anyone, but it's just so funny to be like, hey, the plate's over there, nerd. You're throwing it the wrong way. Like,
Wrong
boo.
base, dude.
It's just another fun thing. It's like, why is baseball the way it is? Why do we do a 7th inning stretch? It's just fun and it's weird.
Just to sing a song and hang out for a minute and like go refresh your drink, have an extra minute to go use the bathroom and shit. Baseball's weird, man. There's no goal. Like, you don't throw a ball in a hoop or a goal, and it's a weird sport with a weird flow. And pickoffs, yeah, you boo when they try to pick off your
team want
pitches.
to
It is a
cheer
good
for the guy
question.
who's like messing with the pitcher? Like,
It is a good question
keeping
though,
him on
because
his
it
toes?
doesn't make sense. You should be happy that the dude's all flustered and
And just-
trying to pick off and
Yeah.
resorting to trying to waste time because he's scared. Like, you should. That's a good thing.
But it's
it's
funny
fun.
to boo.
It is funny. It's like they're scared to pitch to the batter, and you boo him, and he's just wasting time. And now that we have more like rules about pickoffs, how many pickoffs you can have, it's it's a little different. They can't just waste them and like eat time to relax or like let a guy warm up. But we boo them for all those reasons where it's like, oh, you're sucking. You're just picking off 4 times just so that guy can warm up and come in next batter. And there's all this kind of stuff that plays into it too. But now things are changing with the rule changes where they can only pick off 3 times and, all that. But it's just fun. It's fun, man.
Yeah, and if you go to the history of like the lore of booing, like Matt said, originally you would see it when there was no pitch clock, when there was no limit for pickoffs. A manager would, like, let's say the pitcher is struggling and they need to get a reliever in there pretty quick, but he just now started to warm up. In olden times, not even olden times, like, before 3 years ago.
Back in 2001.
You go visit the mound.
But you would go visit the mound.
Walk really slow out to the mound. Wait till the umpire breaks up your... walk really slow back to the dugout. Pick off 3 times.
Yeah. You'd slowly pick off and just buy time. They would lean in, get ready, think they're about to throw, do another pick off. And the boos would grow more and more from that. That's kind of like the lore. And then nowadays, all it takes is a pitch. It could be the 6th inning. The starter hasn't thrown a single pickoff move. He throws 1 pickoff to first. And you're like, this guy sucks. Boo. You're rattled out there.
You're scared.
But yeah, that's just kind of the history and the fun of it. Yeah, it's something fun to do. It's a good time.
It passes the time.
Yeah,
You're the home team. You root for your team. You boo them. Everything they do that's not the right thing. You're just like, yeah, fucking boo. Yeah, I love it.
It's a very thorough answer, boys. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Of course, yeah. We'll go to more baseball games and we can boo together. I don't usually boo. See, I'm a guy that like sits in my seat and I'm kind of like looking around like, all right, yeah, people boo this. I'm like, it's part of the game. I don't really care that much. I'm like, this is a neutral thing. I'm not booing or cheering. Like, what?
I'm a booer.
Nothing happened.
I'm a booer.
I mean, I won't boo the Mariners. It's a very special occasion for me to boo the Mariners. Like, there's fans that if the Mariners give up a home run, they'll like boo. And it's just like, no, what are you doing? You could boo them for hitting a home run, I guess. But if you're like, because a pitcher gives up a solo shot on your team and you boo him, that's ridiculous.
I have a question. Do you guys boo Jose Altuve?
Oh,
yeah.
The whole stadium does. It's the loudest.
I don't boo Jose Altuve.
About Bregman.
I
I
boo
let
him,
everyone do
Bregman.
it, but I don't do it. I'll boo Bregman. Yeah.
I boo.
That's my line.
I was confused. I was at a game last year or the year before, and people were booing Ohtani. I'm like, just because he's good?
No. That's the
That's-
wrong response.
That's where I don't boo. Like,
We want mediocre baseball.
I see that too. Like the same people that like boo Mike Trout because he's a Mariners killer, and I love Mike Trout. I don't care that he kills the Mariners. He's one of the most fun players I've ever had watching. Like,
Yeah, but hashtag fuck Mike Trout.
yeah, I'm not on that bandwagon.
I watched Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs and rob a home run from us last year in person, and it hurt real bad. But I was so happy that dude like just owned us, and it felt like a Mike Trout moment.
dude,
And I was
imagine
like,
how
man, I
imagine how
can't boo this.
depressed all those people are gonna be when Mike Trout retires, and we literally had the privilege of watching a generational baseball player throughout like most of our kind of adult lives, and some people, all they're gonna remember about him is that they fucking booed him.
The
That's a
FMT.
sad way to live.
That's what they're gonna remember. FMT.
Like, you didn't even get to enjoy the greatness because
Reverting back to pitchers topics, I actually had something that was requested to us by a listener for a topic for us to talk about. Shout out Andrew. With Matt Brash dealing with injuries and stuff, and who knows how soggy his arm might be, do you think it pushes the Mariners any more forward in trying to get Blake Snell?
no. Short
Yeah,
answer. No.
I would say no as well. I think that we're set in our rotation. We're not going to go out and reach for it. if we were going to reach for it, I'd say Jordan Montgomery is a more reasonable route, even though both of them are so expensive, man. We weren't going to get Matt Chapman. We weren't going to get Blake Snell. We're not going to get those guys. If anything, we go work on the margins like we always do. That's our strength, and we might trade from our prospect capital to get a higher leverage reliever guy rather than a left-handed starting pitcher at this point.
I think if money was less of an issue, it'd be more reasonable. But at the same time, do we need a sixth starter? Are you going to put Wu in the bullpen, or what are you going to do? Why do we need a Blake Snell at this point?
Yeah, that was going to be kind of my point too. Is like if we got Blake Snell, we then would have to take one of our starters out of the rotation, and the Mariners are very proud of this current 5-man rotation that we have. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Blake Snell is obviously better than Brian Wu.
He's awesome, yeah.
He's, I mean, 30 years old, 2-time Cy Young winner, but he also has faults in his game that kind of go against the Mariners stuff. He doesn't pitch out of the 6th inning. He literally only goes 5 or 6. Blake Snell has only pitched into the 7th inning once in his entire career. That's crazy.
He high walk rate, high pitch count, and high strikeout count. So he can walk the bases loaded and strike out the side is kind of the thing. It's like you throw way too many pitches. We saw Robbie Ray doing this too, where he's trying to gut out the 7th inning and then gets injured. You know what I mean? It's like you can't be a horse and throw 100 pitches in 6 innings. Like we have to balance that somehow. And yeah, Blake Snell's not the guy I would rely on down the stretch, and he's looking for a big deal on like Scott Boras is his agent, the most
famous,
yeah. He's infamous for getting the biggest and longest contracts you can get, and coming off of a Cy Young year like that, we're not going to get Blake Snell. But like I was saying, Jordan Montgomery's more realistic, but it's not going to happen. The Mariners aren't going to just go sign a free agent like that. They might trade from prospect capital to get a high leverage reliever. But the idea, yeah, Garrett, is that we replace one of our starting pitching rotation and move Miller or Wu to a high leverage spot in the bullpen, which would be awesome depending on how we want to utilize their weapons. I don't think we're going to do it. I think we're kind of sitting where we are with our payroll, and we're not going to go spend that extra money, or else we would have signed someone like Matt Chapman just to hold down third base for a couple years. You know what I mean? He ended up with a 3-year contract with the Giants.
Yeah. 3 years, $80 million.
Opt out after every season too.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of weird stipulations. That's what you get with those Boris contracts too. There's a bunch of weird stuff involved.
That's the kind of deal we would have had to sign Chapman to too, where it's like 1 to 3 years, and like just to shore that up. But either way, the Mariners aren't making that kind of move. They've showed us that they work on the margins really well to get players who have a lot of value, but we don't have to pay them the premium for being a star player. You know what I mean?
And also, even like, let's say payment wasn't an issue. Let's say Blake Snell was going to make league minimum. I still just don't know if that is really the fit that the Mariners are trying to build right now. Nothing against Blake Snell, obviously a crazy dominant pitcher, but have kind of been expecting more from our starters recently, wanting them to go a little bit deeper in games. And we do have our high-powered bullpen, but it's nice to use them in spurts rather than, okay, our starter went 5 and now 4 more relievers for the rest of the game. That hasn't really been the Mariners' mantra the last 2 years. So I don't see it really fitting with the way our current roster is built, what we're expecting from our starting pitchers and all that. I don't see it happening.
The years of control that we have in our starting rotation already is good enough. We don't have to go pay a huge amount to get someone extra, I think we're good watching these guys take another step forward this year.
I will say in Blake Snell's defense, regarding his lack of ever getting past the 6th inning, is he did play his entire career, except for the 2 years in San Diego, with the Tampa Bay Rays, who are notorious for being, honestly over analytical in my opinion about it as far as pitchers, pitch counts, times through the rotation. Like they pulled him out at like 80 pitches in a do or die playoff game because something about the matchup or whatever said that he shouldn't throw another pitch there in the sixth
He had
inning.
a no-hitter going.
Weird. Yeah, that was weird to me. And I think
he had a no-hitter and they pulled him at 80
I think
pitches.
that's what it was. But
I was watching a Mariners and Rays game once, and the Rays starter, it was 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. He was 1 out away from a complete game shutout, and the Rays manager came in and pulled him because the matchups and stuff. We had no one on base, and they had like a 2-run lead. Like even if he gave up a solo home run, would not have affected the outcome of the game. And that manager went and pulled him. And sure enough, we have to wait through the pitching change. Dude comes in, throws 1 pitch, ground ball, second base, game over. Mariners get shut out. But you took away a complete game shutout from that guy. That's so rare these days.
The Rays are so weird, man.
The Rays were the ones that first started that opener stuff. They were the first team that really started implementing that. Also, I thought it was so funny when the Mariners tried to copy that and it just backfired on us tremendously. Like none of our openers ever panned out, and
a lot of teams did that, and it was weird. Yeah, use a reliever first and see how he does through the first or second inning, and have your starter warming up during that time. Like, well, that's so weird. Like you piggyback a reliever first. I get it, but
take your most finicky position and fuck him up.
The weirdest baseball I've ever seen.
Yeah, the Rays constantly be doing weird stuff. And, sometimes it works out for them, but they've also proven time and time again that they get too cute and it bites them in the ass.
The mega shift.
They win games and make the playoffs, at least in the last 5-6 years. You can't say that they haven't, been there and, those things have kind of paid off and Kevin Cash has made the right moves at certain times. But, you always remember the times where it backfires and it doesn't work out, but all the times that it does work out, they do make the playoffs, and the Mariners have kind of followed suit a little bit, but I'm glad we're kind of in between there, and we're sitting in the sweet spot here where we've built a good team on the margins without signing a giant contract.
I've grown to hate the Rays. I think at first it was fun and cute and quirky and trying new things, but now they're just annoying, and they make the playoffs, win 90 games every year, but they always exit early. No one really gives a shit if you don't win that last game of the season.
That's like the Dodgers winning, 107 games and then getting bounced out just immediately.
Thanks for the question, though, Andrew.
Yeah.
Got us to become an anti-Tampa Bay Rays podcast for 20 minutes.
We're trying to talk about our pitchers.
We love listener questions.
Yeah, we do.
That was awesome. It gave us something to all bounce around on, too.
That was great.
Shout out to Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Look, it's spring training for us as well as it is for the Mariners. We're working ourselves back into the podcast. We're trying to break down this team and tell you what they're all about. We have high hopes for this team. We think this team has what it takes, and that, last year was kind of fluky, right? 2021 was sick, and 2022, we almost made it, but there were too many moving pieces that were maybes. This year, we have a solid roster that I think we can all get behind.
Also, one of our big problems last year, and we talked about this, it felt like the team lacked an identity, where the year before we had chaos ball and everything. And just last year, I don't know, something was just kind of missing. And this year, we're so happy with the roster, our pitching staff, we've got a lot of good, solid pieces. I see the playoffs happening this year, and that's not just Mariners hopium.
No.
I realistically see it happening.
There's a future for this team. We have a nice window here. We have a lot of controlled young players who are still coming up too, and I think all the way through 2028, the end of JP Crawford's contract is when this is all going to happen here. I think this year is a nice we're making a solid roster here. We don't have to move too many pieces. We kind of had our big shakeup here. It was almost like an earthquake. We got rid of Robbie Ray, Suarez, like all these dudes. Jared Kelenich's gone, but this roster seems stable. I like it. I'm happy.
I see about 90 wins again this year. I think we're back at about the 90-win team. Hopefully, a few more than that push us over the edge. 92 would be phenomenal. And I really do, like Patrick said, not just drinking the Kool-Aid and being hopeful like we are every year as Mariners fans, but I think that's a realistic expectation to hold this team to.
I'll always drink the Mariners Kool-Aid.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends. And if you want to be cool like Andrew and send us a topic to talk about, we'll always make sure to fit it into the pod. Thank you all so much. We'll be back next week, probably talk about some predictions, some hopes, and kind of get ready for as another week of spring training ticks by and we get closer and closer to the regular season.
Playoffs, here we come.
On our way. Well, we'll be back next week, and go Mariners!
He threw me out of a game one time.
You got ejected?
Yeah, I drew a line in the sand.
No!
Oops.